right, it is March TBR time, and I have hunkered down. I recently released my HYRCED check-in, and I have like 30-some books to get to, and I have March, April, May, June to do it, which means I do need to be intentional. It doesn't mean I can't, do books that maybe don't fit into prompts, like that's still happening on this TBR, but it would feel better if I, while I had momentum, started knocking things off the list so that when things invariably get off track, I have some wiggle room. And so let us begin with the books I'm still in the middle of at the end of February. The first one being, and I actually have a beautiful arc of it, The Subtle Art of Folding Space. I'll probably finish this within the next couple days. I am 50% of the way through. I'll put an image here since this is a tad shiny. I'm really enjoying this. So John Chu has written a bunch of novelettes I liked, and this is a novel. It's short, and I think a lot of times there can be some fear that we're just taking a short story idea or a novelette and making it longer without changing a lot. But I will say this feels like a structured novel. It doesn't feel like we started with a short story and it got longer for me and my tastes. It could have still come from that place, but it feels like a lot of reworking probably was done. We have our main character, Ellie, and she is a maintainer of physics and how it works. And so she's a builder. Her cousin Daniel is an architect, and they are brought together because after the passing of her mother, she needs to help solve this case of, is this just like a feature or a bug? Basically, it's one of my favorite phrases. There's a loophole in physics, and they need to figure out, is this a conspiracy and who's involved, or did this just kind of fall out of the code by accident? And there's so much food. Like, reading this book, I went to go get some really good Chinese food downtown because I was just like, oh my God, I need to eat some of this. I am so hungry. So really good food, really good family dynamics, really hard topics and whimsy. I'm really enjoying it. And it's in Boston a lot of the time, and DC. So if you like being in locations you're familiar with, I'm enjoying it. It's definitely weird, but I just trust the process with John Chu. I'm also in the middle of Gender Euphoria, which is an anthology of essays about being euphoric in your gender from trans people, intersex, non-binary, and agender. I originally thought there would be gender fluid representation in this nonfiction, and I do not believe that there is. I went through each of the chapters and I didn't really see that. So, in the spirit of trying to actually fulfill the prompt, I've switched up. But first, I have read the first couple essays in this. I'm really enjoying it. It's just really nice to seeing all of the different ways to be a person, if that makes sense. I just read one about someone who is non-binary and chose to go through pregnancy and all of the things that did, and also how labor is divided in their household, even though they are not the woman, but also their partner is disabled. And it was just, I think, very nuanced. And again, I like that it's highlighting, instead of the dysphoria, how being euphoric in your gender can really affirm you. I just think it's a really well curated anthology. So I'm probably going to use this for the non-binary square because it has a lot more of those stories and agender stories in here. And I might use it for nonfiction and move the Toni Morrison around because that's an essay thing. Regardless, I think it's going to work out. And so I'm reading that right now. And what I'm going to do for gender fluid, because my patrons have voted that I finish the queer alphabet square this month. And so in my search for a gender fluid character, I found The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, which came out in 2020. I remember hearing people talk about it. I know it's young adult. I think it's a duology, and the second book is already out. So if I like it, I can continue pretty easily. And hopefully it's an okay standalone if I'm only okay with it. I don't know, but it's going to have a mermaid. I'm fairly certain it's going to have a mermaid with a title like this, and I need a mermaid still. Because I feel like I was already bending the rules with how I was going to approach it anyways. And I went on the internet. I'm fairly certain our main character is gender fluid, not just by necessity, but also by choice by the end of this book. So this is going to be one I'm reading. And then I am going to try and read the first 4 Wayward Children books these months. And they're novellas. So it really only holds the place of 2 books to read 4 novellas. And I have the audiobooks, and I got the ebooks on some free thing a while ago. There was a time when Tor used to give you a bunch of these things pretty easily. So I have a bunch of EPUBs of the Wayward Children's, and I can do the audiobooks. I feel like that won't be an issue because the first one, the main character is asexual, and it'll help me with my series staircase. What are these about? I've only read the Horse Girl one, but I do know that there are kind of two locations you can be in. You can be in the world, the fantastical portal world, or you can be on our Earth, in the home for all the children who have left their portal world. That was their perfect world, but now they are kind of almost abandoned, stranded back in the real world, and there's adjustments that need to be made. That's, I think, the gist. I have not read any of them. I think this will be good because I know the one that I read for the Hugos is like middle to lower tier, I feel, for the fandom. And I think some of the favorites are in this first half or lead to the favorites. So we'll see. I still think vastly, like, the Shauna Maguire one-hit wonderdom with me is strong. My first one by her was middle game, and I adore it. It's like my personality. And everything else I've read hasn't really worked as well, but it'll work for the series staircase. It works for helping to finish the LGBTQ square. And it'll like help me with momentum too, because I feel like finishing short things is nice. So that's what I'm doing for all that. I need to also read my March new release. And the March new release I'm going to read is a short story collection. It's called Seasons of Glass and Iron, and it'll also work for helping me finish my quote. I think I'm going to finish my quote this month. I've already read one of the short stories in here because it was in the back of River Has Roots, and I really liked it. And in the past, I have read a different short story by this author, and I also enjoyed it. I think I really do enjoy her as a short work person. So I'm excited to read this collection. I still have no idea what this cover's doing. Like, I don't understand it. I'm hoping reading a story will help me understand it. It just feels like such a weird hodgepodge of graphic design, and I don't know how else to say that. So that's just how I feel. And speaking of other things that I chip away at each month, we have TBR Spin. This month threw me for a loop. I had like half my stack that would help me. And we got this prompt that was like, you have to swap out with another book from the author. And I don't actually have a lot of duplicates in my actual collection. And then the secondary prompt was, or the shortest book on the stack if you can't do the swap. And so originally I was like, well, what is the shortest book on the stack? A book that would not help me with HYRCED. And so what I ended up doing is I have the House of Spirits on the stack. And so I'm going to switch it out for a different Isabel Allende. And so I've decided on Violetta, purely based off the cover. My sibling and I were staring at a bunch. I'm like, which of these three has a prettier cover? Because her last couple new releases have been stunning. And then I read the synopsis, and I think it's the 20th century. I think she's in Chile. She's in a South American country, but I didn't get to the part of the synopsis that told me which one. And I loved the historical fiction Long Petal of the Sea. So, and I don't know, I just feel like it's going to be a good time. I haven't read a historical fiction in a minute, so I'm kind of feeling it. And it'll help me with my own personal challenge square, where I'm like trying to read from different Spanish-speaking countries. So that's what I'm doing for TBR Spin. Do I technically own it? No. But if I really like it, I'll definitely buy myself a copy from my local bookstore because it's stunning. It is such a pretty book. So speaking of my bookstore, we have a book club coming up. We're going to read Discontent for our bite-size book club. We have like short reads we read every month. And this is an author from Spain. I think the character is in Argentina. I don't know what's happening. I'm going to read it because it's short and I like going to book club. That's why it's on the list. And then we've got 3 more things to talk about. We'll talk about my last HYRCED one. And like, if you haven't been keeping track, which why would you? Because it's my silly little challenge. But my quote was the Billy Joel line, it's either sadness or euphoria. It's one of my favorite songs, Summer Highland Falls on Turnstiles. And I have worked really hard. I've got It's Either. And I almost have It's Either. I need an I there. And I don't have sadness, but I have or, and I'm about to have euphoria from Gender Euphoria. So I just need sadness. Because I think the I will come from the Season of Glass and Iron. And so I have this book that I want to read called Sadness is a White Flower. I don't know if I'll like it. No one warned me that this is a very problematic piece of art that is very malicious. I think it's just going to be, nuanced and complicated art. And I'm totally down to read complicated art always. And it's one of the few books with sadness in the title that intrigued me. And then I'm done with the quote. I did not think it would be so hard. It didn't feel like, I felt like Euphoria would have been the hard word. And that's the book I've known I would have all along. I don't think I've had to build everything up from letters. So yeah. And then what I'm going to be doing is I need to read book 3 of Memories of Ice. Because I've just been chipping away at that, a book a month, because a book of a Malazan within the big book is like 300 very dense pages. So I've been doing that. And I did not get to These Burning Stars last month, which is the first book in a trilogy. It's a sci-fi series that I'm reading with my patrons and I really want to get to. And so it is now, I own the audiobook. I have access to the ebook. It is back on the docket. And so that's currently the TBR. I think that's generally what I'm going to be doing. If I need a romance, because I haven't put a romance on here, I'm probably going to do Tusk Love, or I'm going to do like By the Mariana Zapata. But I'm pretty sure during my spring break, I'm going to be prepping for my next class that opens up after spring break. But also, I'm probably going to be playing a lot of Act 2 of Expedition 33. Like, who am I kidding? I'm having the time of my life over there. So yeah. That's what the TBR is. What are your plans? Have you read any of these? I know I'm talking about a lot of books I haven't really chatted about before, so that's probably also exciting. Have you read that mermaid book? Do you like it? Do you think I will like it? It's been a minute since I've read like a standard young adult fantasy, because I don't think this is romantasy. I think it has a romance subplot, but I haven't read like just a young adult book in a minute. And so I'm kind of excited too, because again, there's a lot of stuff on here that I just like genre-wise haven't done in a while. So I think it'll be cool, especially because the last couple months I've been reading a lot of like the 2025 releases, and I'm feeling okay about my ballot. And so I think I know what I'm going to be nominating for the most part and don't feel the need to keep reading it. I think anything I've missed, I'm hoping will show up on the ballots as award season continues. So yeah, if you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here. Ooh, I do not know. I never know. I just say this every time. Let's do something violet for Violetta. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.